Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Janice Crowell, and I'm the Program Manager at Temple University Small Business Development Center. You are here today for our no-cost webinar called WordPress for Intermediate. We're proud to be part of a nationally recognized and accredited network of SBDCs with over 1,000 centers across the United States. We're going to give people another minute or two to come in. I'm seeing participants log in now. And in another moment, I'll turn it over to Sheila Bishop, our WordPress expert. If you could, we're asking you to put your questions in the Q&A or chat throughout the webinar. And Sheila has specific breaks within the webinar that she'll stop and answer any specific questions. Just to let you all know, a copy of today's PowerPoint and a link to the recording will be sent to you within 48 hours. All attendees are muted, so you really do need to post your questions in the chat or Q&A. So Sheila, I'm looking at the participants right now, and if you'd like to go ahead and get started, I'm going to turn it over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for attending today. Our topic today is Intermediate WordPress. And as Janet said, the webinar today is being put on by Temple University Small Business Development Center, hosted by Temple's Fox School of Business, which has been serving the small businesses of Philadelphia, Eastern Montgomery, and Lower Bucks counties since 1983. Our mission is to provide entrepreneurs and business owners the knowledge needed to make smart business decisions and to prosper. I'm Sheila Bishop, a business consultant for the SBDC. I have more than 35 years of various IT experience. My most recent position before coming to the SBDC was I was the VP of Monitoring Services Operations at Bank of America. I have a BA in computer science from Temple University, and I'm a dog person and an inveterate knitter. So what we're going to cover today is a little bit more deep dive into some of the things. I don't know if you've taken the beginner WordPress classes, but those were to kind of get your site just kind of up and running. So once your site's kind of up and running and you have pages and you've set a post, what's next that you need to do? So some of the things you need to do next are to think about your SEO, which is your search engine optimization, and how you can improve your SEO, how you can set up Google Analytics so that you have a view into your website, who's coming to your website, how long they're staying, what kind of decisions they're making when they're on your website, and how you can back up your website in case something happens that you can recover. So what is SEO? SEO, again, is search engine optimization. I always say there's two main audiences for your website, right? There's the people who come to your website and interact with it, and then there's the crawlers in the background, the Google crawlers and the Bing crawlers and other crawlers out there. And these are computer programs that are going out to find out everything they can about the web and make decisions based on their algorithms. And they're making different kinds of decisions about your website than people are, right? So they're looking at different things. So you have to think about both of these audiences when you're building your website, when you're building your content. So SEO is the process of optimizing your website to increase the visibility of those search engine crawlers to your site, and kind of making sure that they understand what your site is about and that will rank your site appropriately so that when people who are looking for your type of service or your type of product are presented your site when they do a search. And the better the visibility of your pages to those for your SEO, the more likely you are to attract new customers and to retain your existing customers. So what are some drivers for SEO? One is your site structure. What is your domain name? Is it formatted correctly? Does it actually reflect the type of service you provide, the products you provide? What is your page titles? What are your title tags, which are not visible to people on the site, but are visible to those crawlers? The the headers and the keywords, all of that. And then what's the content, which is what the people who are looking at your site are going to see. Is it readable? Does it have the right headers that, again, have the content? How fast does your site load? People don't like a slow site and will abandon it, but the crawlers also take note of that when they get to your page, about the lag, any lag that they're seeing loading your pages. And then links. And those are links both that you're linking out and linking internally, and people who are linking to you. Because when people are linking to you, the crawlers are seeing that as you having some authority in your field. People are referencing you, so therefore you must have some gravitas to your business and to your website. And when you talk about internal links, that's things like from your homepage. If you say contact us and then you link to your contact page. If you mention something in your page about your founder's love of cheese doodles, and you have a blog entry about that, and you link to that blog entry from within that content, that's an internal link, and that helps with your SEO too, because it shows you have content and your structure is set up so that there's like a full rich experience on your website for your users. So how can you improve your WordPress site's SEO? You want to always be cognizant of your site speed and make sure that you're doing everything to keep it as fast as possible. There are a lot of cool themes out there that have the ability to use sliders and flip things and music players and gamification, but really ask yourself, do these help with my customer experience? Do they help with my message? Do they improve the site experience? Are they worth this hit that I'm taking for the speed? They might be, right? Especially if you're in kind of an industry where that's going to appeal to your user base. But if they're not and they're just hurting your speed, think again about what kind of theme you're using and how fast it is. Check your visibility settings on your WordPress dashboard menu to make sure you are set that the crawlers will see you. You want to submit your site map to Google to make sure Google's indexing you correctly. Again, you want to internally link your site. Like I was saying, you want to, if you're talking about something on your site, link to that place on your site where there's more information, more content. You absolutely want to optimize your images. You want good visibility of your images, but you want them to be optimized for the web. You don't want, megabyte images on your site. It will really slow down your site, and that will hurt both your people's perception as they load the page, and it will also hurt your SEO score as the crawlers go to your page. They are also clocking how fast things are loading. So there are a lot of good image reduction sites. And some of this stuff, if you don't know how to do it, it is covered in that beginner's WordPress. So that is out in our YouTube area. Even if you fast forward, you can get to just some of this information. You also want to use SSL. Even if your site doesn't have secure data, if it's just a business-to-business site, you're not asking for any customer data or any banking information or anything like that, Google now pretty much requires people to have SSL for their site for that linking between when people are connecting to sites. They will penalize you if you do not use SSL. Now, how to set up all this, there are some tools for WordPress that will make setting up your SEO a little easier. A couple of good ones are Yoast SEO and All-in-One SEO. So you also need to focus on the content. If we looked at that, what drives it, one of the things that drove your SEO score was your content. And you think, how would content affect your search results? Well, some of the ways the content of your website affect your search results are newness. There are a lot of people who start websites and then abandon them, never touch them again. And Google does not want to send their users to those abandoned sites. So you want to make sure that your site is changing, is being kept fresh. And basically you want to make some kind of change to your site, at least on a monthly basis. And that's why we'll often recommend you have a blog on your site, especially if it's a business to business site where you're not changing products or product prices or putting on sales. If it's kind of like more of a text-based site where you're showing about your services and maybe have a contact me page, you want to make some sort of change to that blog on a monthly minimum basis, so that Google does not see it as a you know, kind of abandoned site or a static site that nobody's caring for. You also want to make sure your text is readable, because again, the crawlers are getting more sophisticated. They're starting to understand natural language. So they're reading through your text in their own way and seeing, you know, what's the readability of this text. Keyword usage to make sure you're being found by the people that are, you know, looking for your type of search services. And this is extremely important in your headers, right? Those, you know, at the top of your page, between your sections, you know, you want to think a little bit about them. You don't necessarily want to just say like about us or, you know, something like that. You want to think about using your keywords in those, because again, the crawlers use those headers to try to find out what your website's about. Because why they do, you know, use readability, they still are not as smart as humans, and they need clues about what your website's about. So think about making sure those keywords are in your headers. Your content length, more content tends to rank higher, which is kind of counterintuitive because people scan the web, so they don't necessarily want a lot of words on the screen, but Google still really likes that. We'll see when they catch up to people in that one. But if you do a blog post, you want to make it at least 1,500 words. And you probably want to break it up with some pictures or something else as opposed to just dense text for people, because like I said, there's two audiences. So you always have to think about the two audiences. But your blog post, you want to make at least 1,500 words. And you also want to think about image readability, which seems like an oxymoron because it's an image. How can it be readable? But you have, each image has a tag for it called an alt tag to alt text, and that is used, I always say, by three audiences. It's used by people who are vision impaired. They have website readers that'll basically read your website for them, and when they get to an image, the alt text will be read to them. That's exactly what it stands for, alternate text, as opposed to the image, and it'll read to them the description of the picture. It's used by the search engines to describe the image to them so that they know, again, more about your website. Again, they haven't quite got smart enough to actually see pictures yet. And the third one is, if for some reason images aren't loading on your site, or somebody has it set that the images won't load, that alt text will load instead of the image. So like for this picture, you know, the alt text could be library shelf with antique books. If it was your bookstore, you might, and you sold mystery books, it might be antique bookshelf with antique mystery books. Again, trying to get your keywords in with the alt text to help the search engines know more about your business and help drive, you know, that then if somebody typed in mystery bookstores near me, drive that business to you. So what is a keyword, right? I'm probably have said keyword now in the few minutes that I've been talking 30 times, right? A keyword is a phrase used in a search query, right? So we say keyword, but it's really more like a key phrase at this point, right? To identify keywords for your site, think about what your customers are going to type in to a search engine, and you want your company or your website to come up, right? So there's two kinds of keywords. There's short tail keywords and there's long tail keywords. So when we were talking about the bookstore, a short tail keyword might be, like I said, antique books, right? That would be a short tail keyword. It's 2 words. Books would be even a shorter tail keyword. A long tail keyword would be, like I said, antique mystery books, right? And an even longer tail one would be antique mystery books from the 1900s. The thing about long tail keywords is it helps target your audience, right? There's probably a lot of people who have bookstores or have books. When you get to antique books, you're narrowing that down. So you're not out there competing with every bookstore in the world. Now you're competing with just people who have bookstores that target antique books. When you do antique mystery books, you've narrowed it again, so you're more likely to show up on those searches, right? Because you're not competing with Barnes and Noble and, you know, every other bookstore. If you narrow it down, your keywords even more to the ones from the 1900s, might be just you and 2 other people, so you're going to show up on that first page. So that's the type of thing you need to think about. And you don't want to choose one over the other. You want to have a mix of both. And again, you want to use those throughout your site. And that's where keyword research comes into play, right? So you want to think about how you want people to find you, what people you want to find you. And keyword research is not a one and done effort, right? So you do have to put a lot of thought into it. And again, you have to do it repeatedly, like at least twice a year, I would say. Some people do it, monthly, really. Some people do it quarterly, but I would say at least twice a year. Sit down and think about your keywords, how effective they've been, and go through the numbers again. And you don't want to, again, just target the popular and obvious keywords, like I said, like bookstore, because you're competing against then all the bookstores, right? And you want to create a list of topics related to your business and the search terms that you think would go along with them, and then use some of the keyword tools out there to help you narrow down and expand your keywords. And some of the examples of keywords, right, would be short-term tails, would be like dog care, dog beds, dog boarding. Those would be short tail terms. And then longer tail terms would be long-term dog care, care for older dogs, orthopedic dog beds, and raincoats for poodles. And that last one was very narrow, right? But if you have poodle owners who want raincoats, they might come directly to you if that's one of the keywords that you're targeting. And so here are some of the popular keyword planning tools out there. There's Google Keyword Planner, there's keywordtool.io, and moz.com/explorer. Moz/explorer, you can have like, there's a free and premium, right? With the free version, you have 10 searches a week. So generally what I do when I'm doing this is I use Google first, and I put in what I'm thinking about and get a big long list, and I go through the list and I take out the ones that don't seem to make sense. And then the ones I want to do more of a deep dive on, I might run through one of these other tools and get other ideas. And then again, I might even take some of those other ideas and run them through again, because it is kind of an iterative process. Okay. Okay, I see we just have a question about, is it benefit to have words intentionally misspelled? I would not have your keywords be intentionally misspelled, because you're putting a lot into your keywords, and you're putting kind of a lot of eggs in your basket, right? You wouldn't want your headers to be misspelled. You wouldn't want your title tags to be misspelled. So you're betting a lot that people are going to constantly misspell tinsel or antique or something like that. So I would not intentionally misspell your keywords. You could run them through the keyword checkers to see if that's something that happens a lot. That's where those keyword checkers are, keyword tools are valuable, because you can actually put in tinsel misspelled and see how often people search on it to see if it would be worth it. Okay, so I'm just going to check the questions before chat. Let's see. Okay, so another big driver of your SEO score are your permalinks, right? Permalinks are the URL names that get attached to your pages and posts, and they're meant to be permanent URL names for your pages and posts. And search engines index all of those URL links, and you can set them in your WordPress site by going to settings and permalinks. But you can override those for any particular page or post, right? So hopefully you've gone into your WordPress site and you've set your permalink overall setting to be something like the post name or something that makes sense, and not just like the number. Because you can just have them all numbered. That's not really recommended, because these URL names really affect your SEO score. So you want them to be something that's going to have keywords in it and help drive your SEO. You don't want them just to be sequentially numbered. But if you named a post something kind of cute to, help for the people in your audience, but you want the URL to reference instead some keywords, you can override an individual post or page's permalink or URL without affecting all the URLs in your site, because it's really not the best idea to go back and change your permalink setting once your website's established. If you're just setting it up initially, and even if maybe you've been running a month or 2 months, it's not such a terrible thing to go in and change your permalink structure. But if you've been running for a year or 2 years, changing your permalink structure will be a hit on your website, because now it's going to go back and re-index all your pages and posts, and you're going to kind of lose all the history of those posts and pages, and the indexers, it's something they don't really respond well to. But you can override it for a new page or post, or even an existing one, just 1 or 2 pages. It won't hurt too much, and might actually help you, because if you put keywords in there. Yep. So, and another driver of your SEO score are your title tags. And a title tag isn't the same thing as your tab heading on your page. The tab heading is what the people coming to your website see, and the title tag is something that the search engine's looking at behind the scenes that explains what the page is to the search engine, right? They shouldn't exceed 70 characters, and they should be in clear English with the keywords kind of towards the front. And they should be, again, written naturally and don't repeat the words. It used to be that you could pack these with keywords and just make them basically gibberish. So, if you did have a dog store, it could be like dog beds, great dog beds, best dog beds, buy our dog beds, right? That could be your title tag. And since you had all these keywords, that would help your SEO. But few releases back, Google came out with a release called Penguin, where it started to do natural language recognition, and it started penalizing people for keyword packing, which is what it called that, right? And I always say, if you turn to somebody next to you and said it, would it sound natural, or would the person next to you think, what happened to that? What happened to Sheila? She had some kind of issue that now she's saying things to me like dog beds, best dog beds, right? So that's really what it comes down to. You want to use your keywords in your title tags, but you want to use them, strategically in clear English, and like I said, right naturally. And you want to set up a different title tag for every tab on your page, every URL on your page, every major page of your website. You also have for each page a meta description, which gives the crawlers additional information about your site. And this won't necessarily possibly improve your SEO score, like that number you get, but it does provide more data to the crawlers, and it will help them know whether this is a site that they want to recommend if somebody puts in something like orthopedic dog, looking for orthopedic dog beds, right? It's Google gives you room for like 1 or 2 sentences to show up below the search results. And if your meta description is written correctly, it will pick your meta description to use. So this also gives you a chance to kind of decide what gets said about you when somebody searches and your site comes back, right? But again, it needs to kind of meet Google's rules, which is it should be about 1 or 2 sentences, about 150 characters. It should not be stuffed with keywords, that type of thing. Now, some of the things you want to think about for yourself is when those 150 characters should have a compelling reason to visit your site, right? And it should have a clear call to action, and it should have your targeted keywords. And you don't want to duplicate your meta descriptions across the pages. Think of each page on your site as a new opportunity to say something new about your business, right? To give more information about your business. So you don't want to just write one and then duplicate it across all the pages, because you're losing that opportunity to give more information. And I know a lot of this seems like a lot of work and almost like homework, right? Like now it's a creative writing experiment, but it is your business, and you want people to know a lot about your business. You want the search engines to want to present your business to people. So and good meta descriptions help increase click-through rates, right? So if somebody comes to your site or searches for dog care services for older dogs, and your service comes up, and under the description is dog care facility, our facility's been in business since 1973. We specialize in care for older dogs. Come to our site and see more about our terrific history, right? Somebody might click on that because they're like, oh, I really care about my old dog. They've been in business a long time and they seem like they care about old dogs, right? If something comes up and it's more like, we have a dog care facility, right? You're probably a lot less likely to go there. Or if it's something much more generic or doesn't seem to reference something about caring for older dogs and it's just a generic statement about your business, they might not go there, right? So you really want to think about when you talk about the keywords, like I said, each page is a unique opportunity to set up a new, new thing you can say about your business to the customers. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and do a demo about how you can set up your title tags and your meta descriptions using Yoast SEO, but are there any questions at this point? No? Okay. Okay. So this is my little pretend dog care company. I think everybody can still see it. So we are going to set up we're going to set up a couple of, like I said, title tags and meta descriptions for our site. The first one we're going to do is for our About Us page. Okay, so this is our About Us page, and we're going to edit the page. And so I already have Yoast SEO installed and active. So down at the bottom of the page, you can see how you can set up the meta descriptions, and it's going to give me an SEO analysis, right? And it's going to make some suggestions, right? It's going to say the image is good, my title width is good, right? But it's going to say I don't have any outbound links. I don't have any internal links, so my page isn't linking any place internally. I don't have catchphrase, I don't have meta descriptions, and I don't have any text links, which is true because I have not done any SEO for this page. So let's go ahead and give it a focus key phrase. And since our little site here is about dog care, even though it's the About Us page, right? I'm not going to make the key phrase about us because that's not really what my business is about, right? And almost everybody has an About Us page. So what I'm going to say is that this page is really about talking about our dog care center. So that's what our key phrase is going to be, is dog care center. And by default, it set up a SEO title for me, which is the title of the page, and then the page, and then the site title, which would make it About Us Doggy Tales. But as you can see, that doesn't actually give us any keywords, right? So I'm going to change that to put some keywords in our title. So I'm going to get rid of what they had, and I'm instead going to make it About Doggy Tales, Dog Care Services in Philadelphia. Okay, so that uses our key phrase, right? And if somebody was looking for dog care services in Philadelphia, then hopefully we'll show up, right? And I'm going to set our meta description. And I'm going to say it's the area's premier dog care company. We offer dog care top quality dog care products, dog training, and contact us today to learn more about our services. And that's where we're saying, give them a call to action. Now this is red because they want us to make it a little longer, because you can make your meta description up to 300 characters. And we could make it longer because this isn't, I'm not going to publish this site because it's a pretend company. And you can make it up to 300 characters. If you do, still concentrate on that first 150 characters, because Google will cut it off there, just about. And honestly, I generally just stick with 150, because if Google's going to cut it off there, that's where I just stop. So here we go. And now it's saying, good, we've set up our images. Oh, okay, it's saying I actually have too many characters. I have 6 too many characters. Can I take out 6 characters? All right, well, it says it's too many characters, but I think I took M-O-R-E. Well, anyway, so it's saying it's too long, so I could take out 6 characters and then it would be happier. And if not, it would cut it off in the middle. Okay. Okay, any questions about that? And we're going to go ahead and do it for another page. So we're going to update this page so that those changes took. And yeah, I hit update twice because of all the times I accidentally don't hit it. Right? And we're going to go to our home page. And we're going to give this a focus key phrase. It's a little, and this one we're making a little bit more generic because it is our home page, right? So, you know, on our home page, we have products, we have testimonials, all kinds of things, right? And again, it just says home doggy tales. It's not descriptive. It doesn't have our key phrases in there. So we're going to change it to dog care services in Philadelphia. And give it a good meta description. And it's going to say it's too long. And say need quality dog boarding, training products, right? And right. And again, we can see what it likes and what it doesn't like about our page. And we can go through, you can go through and you can go through and fix some of these things. Now you don't have to fix all of them, right? At least, you know, not right away, but all of these things you fix will help you with your SEO score. And there, like I said, there are other tools that you can use, and they all basically do the same thing. They might be on different pieces of the page, they may take you other places, but they help you with all those pieces that aren't as obvious to get to from your page. Okay, any questions? Okay, all right, if not, we'll go back to the presentation. Okay, so now we're going to talk about other things we need to do to set up our site to kind of get it production ready, right? And one of them is Google Analytics. The nice thing about Google Analytics is it's free, right? So a few things in life are free. Now, it's not completely free because Google is also finding out information about your site. That's kind of the big trade-off of our time, right? Our data for free services. But it's a tool that'll collect your website's information and show you how they interact with your site. And what it will show you is who uses your website, when people use your site, how long they stay on your site, your most active pages, where the users are coming from, and are you getting all new users or are you getting returning users? And the way it works is you have to create a Google Analytics account. And right now it's actually Google Analytics 4 is what you want to set up, but it's basically what you would set up at this point, because the old version is being end of life in the summertime. And then you create a data stream for your website. So the data from your website ends up getting streamed over to Google for those information about your users. And Google Analytics will give you a tracking code and a global site tag, and the site tag you copy into the head of your HTML, and it kind of looks like this. And how you do that is you install that tracker code into your WordPress site, and you can do it manually. You can do it with the WordPress code headers and footers to open up your headers and footers and then put it in your header, or you can use Monster Insight. And Monster Insight is the most popular analytics plugin for WordPress, and it simplifies the process of installing Google Analytics. There's no need for you to add something in your code. There's both a free and premium version of Monster Insight. The free version is enough to get Google Analytics installed. You'll get additional things with Monster Insights, but you do get the Google Analytics part set up for you. Even if that's really all you're looking for, sometimes it's nice just to use Monster Insights to do that part. And okay, so I'm just going to answer the questions. How often does one need to update the SEO? Like I said, you really kind of need to look at your keywords. I would say at least every 6 months. If they still seem totally relevant to your site, then you don't need to make any other changes. And I wouldn't say you would need to change everything every 6 months, but you may want to tweak some of those things once every, if it looks like the industry is going a certain way with how they're wording things, or if other key phrases have become more popular. And what I did it will improve the SEO. That's why I did it. And it is a regular maintenance thing. If the key phrases that you had set up don't seem to be working for your business, or if there's ones that seem to be that they would be better for your business. Okay. All right. So now we've talked about how to get people to your site, how to find out information about the people coming to your site, which is what Google Analytics is really about, how to find out about the people who are coming to your site. So the next piece is about how to keep your site up and running if something bad happens to it. So why back up your site? You want to make sure you can recover from a bad problem, right? And that bad problem might be a human error, right? Somebody who tries to make, way back when I worked on the big mainframes, I worked with this guy who would always say it's the one-line code issue. You think, oh, I don't need to worry about this. I'm just changing one line of code. And then suddenly everything goes, whoop, right? That's human error, right? Making a small change, it's not going to affect anything, but sometimes it affects everything, right? So you think you're doing something relatively harmless. I'm going to compress this code base or something like that. And now suddenly my site is down. I can't get to it. And I can't recover it just by trying to pull back in the data. You could have plugin or theme corruption. So something bad happened to your theme or your plugin, and now your site is no longer responding to you. You could have an update that causes the issue. It might not even be that it was a bad update, but say you have a theme that's in the middle of the updating and something disrupts it as it's updating, and now it's in a corrupted state. And you could have a malicious actor or malware. I just actually did a cybersecurity webinar last night, and I was saying that one of the things that people can do is there's like a code jacking thing where they can redirect your website someplace else. You need to be able to get back from that, right? And backup is one of the ways you can do that. So now they've convinced you, you all need to back up your site. What do you need to back up? You need to back up your WordPress files, your themes, your plugins, your images, your media, and you need to back up your database. Every WordPress site has a database in the background. And what's in that database is your blog post, your product data, your page content, your comments, your form submissions, and all your settings. And how often should you back up your site? It really depends on how quickly your site changes, right? You could have a site that changes like once a week. Maybe you make a blog post once a week. So then you might want to back it up once a week. After if you always update your blog on Friday, then maybe you want to have Friday backups. Maybe you have a monthly podcast. Maybe you only update your site once a month, then you want to have monthly backups. If your site is an extremely active sales site, then you definitely want to back it up nightly, at minimum. And you should, again, definitely take point in time backups before any major changes to the site. If you're going to update your theme, you're going to change your theme, you're going to update WordPress, you want to take a backup before you start any of that work. And you don't want to rely on the idea that I'm already taking a weekly backup or a monthly backup, because that backup that you're relying on might be the one that's corrupted. There might be some other issue with it. There might be other sales that happened in between. So you definitely want to take that point in time backup before you make any other changes to any major changes to your site. And how many backups you should keep, or what kind of backups you should keep. There's actually the United States Computer Emergency Readiness Team has a report, and you can click on it and we'll send this out. And I agree with them that you should have at least 3 copies of your WordPress site, your live site, and 2 backups. And this is at any given time, right? And you want to keep those 2 backups in 2 separate locations. And one of them should definitely not be, well, especially since they're in 2 different locations, one of them should not be in the same location as your running website. So if one backup is on media, backed up on disk in the same location as your website, or could possibly be, like, make sure the other one's in the cloud someplace else, because if there's a fire where your website's being hosted, or a flood where your website's being hosted, or even a power outage that's going to take days or weeks to fix, you want to be able to get up and running someplace else on new hardware. So like I said, one example could be on hard drive and one on the cloud, and that one on the cloud should be stored remotely, right? Because you don't, again, want them to be in the same physical location. And some backup solutions for backing up WordPress. You can do it manually, and this will give you instructions, but that's probably the hardest way, because you need to back up the files in the database separately. They are just files in the database, so you can back up the files. You can back up the database using database tools, but then you also need to make sure you have procedures for recovering those, because the recovery is going to also need to be done manually. But there are some tools in the market for WordPress that'll help you with the backup and the recovery, and some hosting sites also do backups and recoveries for you. So you may want to check with your hosting site to see if it's already providing a backup service. Because recently we had an issue, and it turns out that GoDaddy is backing up your site for WordPress, but they charge you a certain amount of money to recover it for you. So the backup's free, but the recovery costs you money, right? So you may want to check again with your hosting site to see if they are also providing some kind of backup and recovery. But you definitely want to find out, and you definitely, again, want to make sure you have something in place. Right, so that's pretty much the presentation for today. We went over a lot of material, so here are some additional resources for all the topics that we went over. And I thank you very much for attending, and hopefully it was helpful for you. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And Janice, I think you have a survey for people to fill out.
Yes, thank you, Sheila. I'm going to drop a survey into the chat right now. It will take less than 30 seconds if you could fill it out for us. This helps us to provide feedback to our funders with the Small Business Administration, and will help us to continue to offer this no-cost webinars. But if you have any questions, now is the time to ask Sheila. We have her for about another 10 minutes. So feel free to drop those into the chat or the Q&A.
Yes, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Anthony, did you have a question?
Yes, the recording will be available. We will send out a recording of the webinar as well as the PowerPoints within about 48 hours.
Oh, I'm glad you found it helpful, Jackson.
Now, if you missed the WordPress 1 and 2 for beginners, that will be offered again in next quarter over the summer. So feel free to look for that through Temple University SBDC.
Anthony, I'm sorry, I thought I had answered your question. So how often does one need to update SEO? Like SEO is more of a process, right? So you constantly need to kind of be, you don't constantly, but you do need to think about your SEO on a regular basis. And it's probably a good thing to kind of put into your schedule, right? So there's more to SEO than kind of what I went over today, but for like your keywords, I would recommend you reevaluate your keywords on like a 6-month basis minimum, right? So, you know, sit down, really think about your keywords and how people should be, how you would think people are searching for you, what the key terms of your business are, and then how people would be searching for you, and run them through some of those keyword tools to see how often they're being found, you know, and that type of thing, and then reevaluate it in about 6 months using those same terms or things you think might have changed to see if they've gotten more or less popular, that type of thing. And if things are pretty steady, and then, like I said, and then updating your website with your meta descriptions and your title tags and thinking about your headers and everything. If things have stayed pretty consistent since the last time you did your keyword, you know, evaluation, then you're fine. If there's things that need to be changed, then go in and make those changes to kind of refresh your SEO, especially if you're not seeing, you know, the traffic you're expecting, not necessarily the numbers, but certainly the type of people. You know, if you have Google Analytics and you see a lot of people coming and leaving right away, you're probably not getting the right people to your website. So I would recommend that. Now, there's a lot of other things that go into SEO, like backlinks and, you know, we do offer, you know, other webinars on. I don't think we have any scheduled right now, but for that part of it, the keywords, that's what I would recommend.
Well, thank you, Sheila. And to everyone, I just put a link in the chat to the Pennsylvania Digital Transformation and E-commerce program that Sheila and I both work for. Through this program, we offer free website and SEO audits, and you can register through the link provided. These audits can be done for existing websites that have been up and running for a minimum of 3 to 4 months. So if you need our services, please feel free to register, and you'll also see other links for other services that we offer via PadTech. Well, Sheila, I'm not seeing any more questions at this time. So again, if you could fill out the survey if you haven't already, we truly appreciate it. And thank you, everyone.
I'm sorry, somebody did ask about expanding more on the links between pages.
Okay, well, I'll let you answer that. Thanks,
sorry,
Sheila.
Sorry, I just saw that. So the links between pages are just that, like, so especially when your website grows and you have and you have like you have more so like on the dog care page, on the About Us page, if I have on the About Us page, and I should have linked it, if I'm talking about dog training, like I say, you know, Amanda Barnes, you know, wanted to set up a really great site for dogs and provide dog training, I should have that dog training linked to where you can go and sign up for dog training, right? That's the kind of link you want to have on your website, an internal link from something I'm talking about to where you can buy that service or where you can find out more about that service, right? Because you want to make sure you're driving the traffic even internally on your site. So as people are reading something and they think, oh, you do dog training, you don't want them to have to go find it, right? You want them to be able to click on that, even that text, make it a linkable text, and go find that that service. And that's why in that on the Yoast SEO, it said you don't have any internal links. That's why it's recommending you have some there. And that's why that helps your SEO, because it's saying, oh, you've really set this page up nicely for the people. They can find additional data from within your page. So hopefully that helped explain it. Okay, so. Sorry, Janice, I just saw there was an additional question.
No, I appreciate you answering that. Any other questions before we end our webinar for today? There is one in the chat.
I'm not sure what you mean by maintaining Google plugins. Just in general, plugins, you want to make sure you keep them up to date. And you may want to set it up to automatically keep itself up to date. So it automatically upgrades itself. It loses functionality. That's a tough one. I couldn't tell you. That's probably just not a great plugin, right? Sorry. Yeah, you would need to reach out to the plugin maker. You may also want to check to see if there's actually a user community for that plugin, because I'm guessing if it's a Google plugin, there's probably a forum for it that may help. There's not much you can do outside of the plugin. You do have to go back to the plugin users, makers, or like I said, the user community might be able to help you. On every plugin, if you pull up the data, there should be a support tab on it, so that you should be able to get back to the support people.
Well, thank you everyone for attending today. Please feel free to reach out to the Temple University Small Business Development Center if you're in the need of any of our services. And Sheila, thank you as always. It was a pleasure for having you here today.